So, like, talking again about rare games, like Nintendo games and stuff, that, you really would think, that icons and stuff would go for just as much money. And they really don't. That video game business is just different. Now, see, had back in the 80s, back when my generation first had these games, now, had we been idiots and taken, quite literally, some kid gets Super Mario Brothers 2 for his birthday, had he taken that game after he beat it and thrown it away, and everyone else did the same thing except maybe a very select few, things would be very different. I would tell you, I would certainly hope my generation would have done that. Especially with all that money spent, because those games were expensive. Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3 went for a shitload, when it first came out. I mean, it was like $60, $70. I mean, Nintendo really was committing murder on that one, because they were just arrogant. They just said, guess what, we realize what you people pay for these games, and guess what, we'll do what we want. Fortunately, there was enough backlash that they gave everyone a coupon. I can actually remember getting in the mail. Maybe it was because I was a member of Nintendo Power. I had a magazine subscription back then to Nintendo Power that basically gave you a coupon. I don't even remember how much it was. No, I actually think it was like only like $3 or something. They were cheap bastards, man. Like all the money they made. Although, I'll tell you something. In later years, I'll tell you something. Even Atari at one time was at this position where they were the biggest company in the world. And they died. And people, I know sometimes people like to rip up the Wii. They like to say, well, it's retarded, and the Nintendo Wii. And I really want to tell those kind of people to please shut the fuck up, because at one point Nintendo, I knew like a few years ago, Nintendo was kind of at the brink of bankruptcy, and they were going to stop doing consoles. They were going to just do what Sega does. Just making games for Sony and Microsoft. So literally, if things hadn't went the way they did, and they had, they hadn't had the portables and things like that, we would be seeing Mario on Microsoft on Xbox. As crazy as that is. But that could have happened. I remember that a few years ago, because they were having trouble with GameCube, and I don't think that their sales for GameCube was going as well as they really should have. Nintendo, usually their biggest problem is that they usually try to stay away from doing really adult games. They really, I understand them to a certain extent, but they just go too far. I mean, they were getting in trouble for this shit back in the days of Mortal Kombat. I remember Mortal Friday, but guess what? I didn't have a Super Nintendo, and guess what? I had Genesis, so I was able to rent, the good Mortal Kombat. I didn't get stuck with the one with fake sweat, and that's the thing is with my life. I realized, as a gamer, I lived during all these huge moments of gaming history. Fortunately, the thing I hate the most about, my childhood and things like that is I wasn't an adult when those games came out. I was a kid who was financially dependent on his parents. I didn't, my first job, when I was 16, it was like in 1996, maybe, I think. maybe 97. So yeah, I mean, I could actually remember using my job money on getting a PlayStation, a PS1, and then I used trade-in credit to get an N64. So that was like the really first time where I actually was able to say, okay, you know, I can get this, I can get that, I don't have to ask Dad. So that was cool, but you don't understand the missed opportunities had I only been an adult. Because it's funny now, I would tell you something, I would probably have blown a brain cell if I was like 12-year-old, only 12 years old right now. Because look at all the PS3 games that come out. Well, yeah, 360. This is a big problem when you hear my reviews. A lot of times you'll hear me mention PS3 and not really give a shit about Xbox. It's just I had a bad experience. But I don't want to get into bashing it. But there are so many good games the last 2 years. The last 2 years, it's been unbelievable the amount of games. And it's very hard to keep up with them. I mean, I spent God knows what. I mean, my PS3 collection has grown so quickly. I'm glad that, you know, they're starting to rebate some games too. They're giving away like $20 towards a new game or something like that. And they have to. There's just so many new games coming out that there's actually good games that are getting missed. There's even like mediocre games where games that are like, they're not that bad, but the point is there's a better game that has basically eclipsed them, and people have just missed out on that. But, you know, what I was trying to say about back in those days, I mean, you're not financially dependent. You know, you're gonna, a lot of times we only got these games that we had a good report card, or we had a birthday or Christmas, and that's, I think in that thinking, that's the reason why when you see AVGN and you see a lot of these game reviews, you have to remember some of us got stuck with bad games. You know, we didn't, you know, our parents didn't have a list of, now I was kind of lucky because, you know, my parents didn't just come home with a game. Okay, they just didn't come home with a game, like, they knew better. They knew better than to make a wildfire guess on, something like that. There was some games that are very unique that my dad, you know, I remember my dad bought me this one game that to this day I still think is pretty neat for Nintendo. It's called Star Voyager, and it's actually a space simulator. And I think to this day, I think that game's kind of neat. You know, that Nintendo didn't have a lot of games like that. I kind of admit, you know, the last few clips, you know, I've basically talked over the game. I'm just, you know, ignoring the game. But that's the thing is with Ninja Gaiden, sometimes you just die. It's just like what AVGN said, you know, you die. That's just basically it. There's a lot of other things you can add to the video, but okay, right here, this guy coming up right here is the guy where you need to use a glitch to get by. Not this guy, the guy who throws the crosses or whatever the hell they are. That guy. Part of the problem is when I do this audio track that it probably won't sync well to show who this person is. But the whole point is he's the green guy, the hooded green guy, throwing swords, and you got two hawks flying in two directions, flying back and forth. You have about 1 to 2 GIs jumping across platforms. You got a guy with a Sinbad look, with a sword, trying to kill you. I mean, you are overwhelmed. You got a flying bat, and now you got him. So to get past him, you gotta glitch it. And what you gotta do is you gotta kind of like stay in the left side of the platform a little, and move a little bit back, and eventually it disappears. And then once you do that, then you're free to go right across. But the thing is that the thing that kills you about this is that all these things I just mentioned on the screen, they can respawn at a drop of a hat from one missed move. Sometimes you have to understand. Remember when I said you get moved if you move back to the left, maybe just like you just tap the left button lightly. Well, guess what? It still counts that you move to the other side of the screen if an enemy knocks you back. So that means you have a respawn, and you're dealing with the current threat in front of you. So like I was trying to say is, you know, if I'm talking over the video and not even telling you what's going on the screens, because you know, that's basically Ninja Gaiden. That's basically it. You got about 5 things on the screen. You got one guy knocking you back, respawning what you just killed. So you're constantly usually got about 5 things on the screen once you get to this level. And that's pretty much the end of this clip. Probably with some of these 10-minute clips, I may send some of this stuff to YouTube.